Exercise 6-3, to do this one three-dimensionally, we're going to need to draw it in multiple parts. So the first thing I'm going to do is, since it's in imperial units, I'm going to go to ACAD3D.dwt. And the first thing I'm going to do is switch the UCS to the front. And now I'm just going to draw a rectangle 2x2. And now I'll zoom in on that so that I can see it a little bit better. And at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and press pull this 1.63. Now, on this rectangle, or on this basic cube structure that I'm working with right now, I have another rectangle that comes off the front that is perfectly centered on the front face here. So I'm going to go back to rectangle, and now I'm going to grab right here, and the software can look at the face of a 3D object, and this is giving me the 3D center snap. Now, that's good, but the type of rectangle that I'm doing is not a center rectangle. So I've got to draw it over here, 1.5, comma 1.5. And then this gets press pulled a distance of 2.75 minus 1.63. So here we have our calculator, 2.75 minus 1.63, and I get 1.12. So I'll press pull this 1.12. Okay, now that I have this, I can then move it, and you can orbit around a little bit to get your 3D center, and then come back and move it to the 3D center of this face, and that is probably going to be the easiest way to do it. It's not the only way, it's just the way that I chose to do it for this object, so now I'm going to union those two together. So what I have right now is I have my basic building block for the object, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the 2D geometry that makes this thing up. And now I need to draw that center core section. Well, to draw the center core section, the easiest thing to do is going to be to draw it separately, revolve it, move it in place, and then subtract it. So I'm going to switch over to a right UCS, and I'm going to draw my first line. And this is going to be 2.75, and that's going to represent the center of my revolution. Now, I don't think I made that 2.75. I made that 1.75 by mistake. So I'm going to go ahead and redraw it at 2.75. Now it looks a lot thinner than, or shorter than this, but that's only because it's way back on that plane. If we were to take a look and zoom this thing around, you'd see that it's a lot further away. So don't be confused by the size, it's actually the right size. I just need to zoom in on this line so that I can see it a little bit better. My mouse is acting up a little bit and won't let me pan too well, but here we go. Now, I've got a lot of different features that are going on this, and it's really a lot of information to keep track of. So, the easiest way to do this is just going to be to start with what I know. The first piece that comes in here is 0.5, or a diameter of 1. So, I'm going to start my line command, and I'm going to track off of here 0.5, which gives me my diameter of 1, and I know the length of that segment is 0.75. Okay, so now with that segment done, my next segment is going to be 0.25 straight up from here. So 0.25, because we're going from a diameter of 1 to a diameter of 1.5, the difference is 0.5, and half of that is the 0.25. Now for my next section, since I don't want to have to go through and do all of the math that is required for this particular exercise, I'm going to start a new line, and I'm going to start it at the apparent intersection of those two, and I'm going to draw this line segment 1.19. And I want to make sure that's at 180 degrees, and then I can go through and trim out that back piece. Now what that does for me is it makes it so that I don't actually have to take the 1.19 and subtract the 0.75. I'm going to go up to the other end of this object, and I'm going to track off of here 0.25, and I'm going to draw my line back 0.75. And then this is going to go from a diameter of 0.5 to a diameter of 1, so that is going up an additional 0.5. Okay, so here we can see that it's went from diameter 0.5 to a diameter 1, and now I've got to put in this angled piece. So going back to here, this is going to go up an additional 0.25, because there it's going from a diameter of 1 to a diameter of 1.5. And something looks really weird with this. I think I might have one too many jogs and line segments in here. Either that, or I didn't bring this one up far enough initially, or I started too small. There's all kinds of mistakes that can be made when you're working with this stuff. Okay, this segment right here is too big. So the good thing about real-time recording is you get to see when I make mistakes how I go through and fix the mistakes. So this line segment is too long. I've got a diameter of 0.5 that is going to a diameter of 1, so that line segment should only be 0.25. So we'll come in here and we'll put in our 0.25. That looks a lot better. And then this segment is going to go in, well, it goes into 1.63 from the opposite side. So I need to come this way, whatever 1.63 is from here. So I'm just going to draw a small little line. And by small and little, I mean big enough to see. And I'm going to offset that 1.63. So we'll click right here, and we'll offset it in this direction. And then I can draw the line that goes from here to here, and then straight up to the top of that piece. I can now erase that and erase that, and there's the inside profile of the hole that I need to remove from my object. Now the thing about it being the inside profile is now I need to close off the two ends. I can then region this and revolve it around its own center line, 360 degrees. So this is the piece that now needs to go into this piece and be removed. So I'm going to move this piece using the 3D center of the front face. Now I can't see that object, but it's in there. So now I'm going to go to the subtract command, and I want to subtract from this, hit enter, and what I want to subtract is that object that's inside. So there I've got it selected, even though I can only see a small portion of it. I know the whole thing's picked, and now I can hit enter. And now if we take a look inside this thing, you can see that all the details that I had on that initial piece are now inside. So the last step on this particular exercise is I need to locate the holes. So I'm going to go to the line command, and starting back here at the midpoint, I'm going to come forward 0.38, and on the front it's 2.75 minus 2.38. So 2.75 minus 2.38, or 0.37. So I'll draw my line from this midpoint back this way, 0.37. Now that I have that, I can go ahead and put in my circle right here, which is going to have a diameter of 0.31, and another circle back here, which is going to have a diameter of 0.31. Now, these two lines that I drew to locate those holes can now go away. And now I only want to extrude these halfway through. If I go any further than halfway through the object, it's going to cut into the rest of the piece. So using press pull, I'm going to press pull this one down 1, and then I'm going to go back to press pull, and I'm going to press pull this one down 0.75. I can get rid of the 2D geometry that was used to create those two holes, and I do want to spin this thing around to verify that I didn't cut any deeper than I needed to on either of those two holes. So we can see that the holes actually go into the object, but they don't go through anything that they're not supposed to. So this one here is a little bit more complicated and requires a little bit more thought. But if you make a mistake, don't panic. You saw how I had an extra section in there, one line segment that was too long. Just figure out what you did wrong, go back, fix it, and you'll be fine.